Will the Broncos beat the Saints? Is this the week for Bo Nix to break out? We're talking about it all with Sean Payton's return to New Orleans tomorrow, and we're starting now. Oh, when the Broncos go marching in. Oh, when the Broncos go marching in. Oh, Sean Payton wants to win. When the Broncos go marching in. And we are marching in here on the DNVR Broncos Podcast. Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis. You here behind the camera, and yours truly, Zach Stevens, rocking and rolling with you today. Todd, how we doing?
I'm good, man. I wanted to join in with you, but I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? It was a remix, so you don't always know how the remix are going to go. So you got to I was waiting to have like a rhythm, but then it was like, you know, I couldn't.
We can do it again.
No. I think it was good.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's when you do like the 50 Cent and you're like remix, and then you just like start your own song halfway through.
Man,
you
I
want
should
to
have
do
thought
that?
I should have thought of that.
You know, I wasn't sure. This was just kind of a morning idea. Like, do we do it? Do I embarrass myself? Sure, why not? It's a Wednesday, and it is the day before a game.
The day before.
I know Henry's not the biggest fan of Thursday Night Football. I love it from every perspective. And do players like it, though, Todd? Because on one hand, I have to imagine it's miserable on your bodies. Like, you get in a car accident. It's like getting in a car accident on Sunday and then getting in another car accident maybe before your body's even fully healed. But then on the other hand, you get a full weekend off if you're a player. The Broncos are going to get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and that is unheard of outside of a bye week in an NFL season.
No, I think you definitely like, you know, that next week where you get the time off and you get to spend with your family and relax and take care of your body. And you like the short week as long as you're playing like a team that's not like tough.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? You don't want to play Derrick Henry and the Ravens in a 3-day with 3-day notice. You know, you want time for the games like that. Like, so I think the Saints is probably the best scenario for the Broncos.
That's a really good point. Yeah, if you're going to get in a car wreck on Sunday, you don't want to have to get in another car wreck with a semi-truck that following Thursday. And while Alvin Kamara is the Saints' best player by far, especially with Olave and Derek Carr, even if those guys were playing, he's still their best player by far. He's not the Derrick Henry bowling ball type. And maybe that's a reason why we see Audric Estime more this week. Another reason why, not just with Javonte and Jaleel struggling, but Audric is a guy that you don't want to see on a short week, I have to imagine.
Yeah, and he's the healthiest. I mean, I know he's coming back from being banged up a little bit, but he hasn't played, so his body hasn't taken, car wreck after car wreck, week in and week out playing football games. So really, he should have a little bit more juice than everybody else going into this game.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Speaking of juice, Todd, we talked about yesterday Sean Payton's return to New Orleans, how emotional it's going to be, if he's going to handle it well, if that'll impact the game. But something that Sean Payton has emphasized both times we talked to him this week is how loud it's going to be in that stadium. Have you played everywhere? Every stadium?
Most stadiums. I think there's like 2 I haven't played in.
And obviously, Denver's one of them. Yeah. Broncos Country knows Denver very well. And you've also played in New Orleans many times. Does that compare to Denver? Is it truly as loud as Sean Payton's trying to make it sound?
Yeah, I really do like the Saints Stadium. Is this still Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
Caesars.
Oh, they changed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're right.
Because it was both of them for a little while, but nice and neat.
That's weird to jump in the division Mercedes went from the Saints to the Falcons.
But the Falcons got a new stadium.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, so I totally get why you leave the Superdome.
No, but I love the Saints stadium. Like, I feel like that's top 3 for me. It's really loud because the sound can't go anywhere. It can't escape.
Yep.
So when they're rocking and they're playing really well, the stadium is really loud. And they have really passionate fans just like the Broncos do. So it will be loud on Thursday, but hopefully not too loud.
What's a better feeling, having your crowd be fired up at home because you just made a play or your defense just made a play, or being in an away stadium that is typically loud and having it be so quiet because you or your defense just made a play?
I would say having your own stadium get loud.
Yeah.
Because for me as a defense, it's always usually pretty quiet.
That's true.
Because their offense is up and they want them to be quiet. They want to be able to operate. So when we make a play, it just gets quieter.
Yeah.
But, when we're at home, the stadium really gets rocking once you make a play on defense.
Yeah. Well, they're not gonna have an opportunity to do that this week. But man, I have to imagine the stadium's going to be electric when the game starts. Mm-hmm. But Todd, this is a game where at the start of the second half, there's a real chance that electricity is totally gone. Because at halftime, the Saints are honoring Drew Brees. They're welcoming him into their Hall of Fame. And if the Broncos have a decent lead, man, the energy could just be zapped because they have a backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. They're missing their top wide receiver. They might actually be missing their top 2 receivers, and we'll get to the injury report in just a second because I think that is a huge part of this game. But when we look at this Broncos-Saints game, these are 2 teams that are pretty much going in opposite directions. Now, I know we're just 72 hours removed from the Broncos losing a game.
Yeah.
But the Broncos are 3-1 in their past 4 games. You know what the Saints are in their past 4 games?
0-4.
0-4. 4-game losing streak. And there's no hope in sight for them ending that anytime soon. Especially, I know Broncos fans are down right now. Imagine if the Broncos were on a 4-game losing streak, how you would feel. And they were playing with Jarrett Stidham as their quarterback or Zach Wilson as their quarterback, and they didn't have Cortland Sutton, and they didn't have who's their number 2 receiver right now? Well, I guess they don't have Josh Reynolds, so they didn't have Cortland Sutton or Josh Reynolds. How would you be feeling, Broncos country? So I know some people are a little upset with how confident I am that the Broncos are going to win this game, and we'll give our picks later in this show, but there's a reason the Saints are just decimated on offense and defense, really.
Yeah, they're missing a lot of pieces and a lot of key pieces. So they're going to need some guys to step up if this is going to even be a close game. And now Spencer Rattler came in. He looked okay for his first game, as a rookie. So the Broncos definitely can't overlook this team, but it's definitely a winnable game for us. And if you look at all the pieces on the board, I think we match up very well against them, and we match up better than almost every category with the guys they're going to have on the field on Thursday. So why not us?
You mentioned Spencer Rattler, Todd.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating about the Saints rookie quarterback is outwardly, the Broncos say they were pretty darn high on Spencer Rattler. Joe Lombardi said he loved him. Sean Payton said they really liked him. And internally, it's the exact same thing. They're not blowing smoke at the media or at the fans right now or at the Saints or trying to get Spencer Rattler on his high horse heading into this game. If the Broncos didn't land Bo Nix, let's say he was taken at 11, a pick before the Broncos, or let's say the Broncos traded back in the first round to try to get Bo and a team ahead of them that they weren't expecting drafted Bo, Spencer Rattler was going to be their quarterback this year. Now, maybe he would have been in a similar role that Spencer Rattler's in with New Orleans, and Jarrett Stidham's actually the starter in week 1. But Spencer Rattler would have been the Broncos rookie. There was no one else that the Broncos were going to draft in the later rounds, and I think he went in the 3rd round, 4th round. Broncos probably could have taken him in the 2nd round. That's how much they actually liked him. And so this is a guy where the Broncos really liked him coming out. He 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions in his first game this past week. Did throw for over 200 yards, but at times looked rattled, which I feel like is understandable being in your very first NFL game, playing against a semi-good defense in the Buccaneers. And so this is interesting. The Broncos get to see the guy they liked more than Spencer, but then the guy they liked just right behind Bo in this game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, the dynamic. Because I don't know if Spencer has a good game, are they constantly kicking themselves like, dang, we should have waited and took him.
Oh, gosh.
I think Bo will come out on top. I've heard a lot of analysts, I think people who don't know what they're talking about, talk about, they would take Spencer Rattler in the long run over Bo Nix. I'm not there. That's not my take. So I think Bo will come out on top. And I think Spencer Rattler, very highly rated quarterback coming out of high school. Yeah. I think he was like a third-round pick, though. And I think that's who he is, and we'll see if he could do more. But for right now, give me Bo Nix.
Yeah, I totally agree. He actually went in the 5th round of the draft. There was obviously that big run on quarterbacks and a massive gap in between Bo being drafted and then Rattler being drafted. But I know the Broncos had a day 2 grade on Spencer Rattler, so they view him pretty darn highly. And when it comes to Spencer Rattler, Todd, there's probably going to be a couple of throws where Broncos fans are like, man, I wish he was our quarterback, because he does have a very live arm. I think he was the number 1 quarterback coming out of high school.
Yep.
Then he played his freshman year at Oklahoma, looked really good, and that was the best he's looked. He's regressed ever since, but he has flashes. I believe South Carolina, so he transferred a couple of times. He ended up at South Carolina last year for his senior season, and I think they played Clemson. And against Clemson, he looked excellent and had major flashes, but then the rest of the season just looked okay. So there's going to be a couple of throws that he looks amazing. Then there's going to be some boneheaded throws too, and the Broncos have to capitalize off those. And if they capitalize on those, Todd, this is how this game gets to be a blowout.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of the rookie quarterback. He's going to have some overthrows, and he's going to give you a chance to make some splash plays on defense. And then knowing Vance Joseph, he's going to heat him up. So it won't be an easy day for Spencer Rattler for a couple reasons. I think our DBs are really good. But on top of that, I think he's going to get a lot of pressure from Vance Joseph and that Broncos defense.
100%. And let's dive into this game a little more. Great news on the injury front. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays, where it is sunny today. It's going to be sunny in New Orleans, and wherever you are, you got to make sure that you have the best sunglasses out on the market. And the awesome thing about Shady Rays is they have so many different types of sunglasses, including beyond just sunglasses. You can get your ski goggles over at ShadyRays.com. And the awesome thing about Shady Rays, all their sunglasses are polarized. And on top of that, all of their sunglasses are affordably priced to the get-go. And then they're going to give you 35% off on top of that by using the code DNVR over at ShadyRays.com, where over 300,000 people have given them 5-star reviews. So we love them. The general public loves them as well. And you're going to love them even more by using that code DNVR over at ShadyRays.com. And this is an exclusive code just for our listeners. Code DNVR over at ShadyRays.com.
And shout out to our friends over at Toyota. You guys know that we are brought to you, and we come live to you in the Toyota Lounge every single day, and we love it here. We love the people commenting in the Toyota chat, and the Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. And if you're looking for a new car, you need to go check out Toyota. They have a lot of different models for you to choose from, whether it's 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, hybrid. They have over 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. Toyota's SUVs take command on the road and on the trail, so you can explore the road less traveled without sacrificing smooth city rides in SUVs like the RAV4 and the Grand Highlander. Toyota really has, I guess a smorgasbord is the best word to describe all the vehicles they have and all the different types of vehicles they have. They definitely have whatever you're in the market for, so you need to go check out your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you, specifically the Auto Nation Toyota in Arapahoe and Centennial, the Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of the DNVR.
And shout out to our friends over at Bet365, the presenting sponsor of this show. And shout out to everyone in the Toyota chat, rocking and rolling with us today. Hit us with a thumbs up if you're tuning in. It really helps us out. We appreciate it a lot. Todd, what are the thumbs up today equating to?
20.
It can't be. Yeah, we got to have more than that.
Yeah. I don't even know. We can't even give that a
no,
title
it's
yet.
quarterly target targets.
Wow, okay.
That's what we would hope for, yeah.
I like that. That'd be awesome. Let's go Bo Nix passing yards in this game.
All right.
You guys don't want Bo Nix to have 21 passing yards in this game. We got to get that number up. And, man, Todd, we'll dive into this in the next segment. But this could very well be a breakout game for Bo Nix. We'll talk about that. But one of the reasons why is the Saints are depleted. You want the good news or the bad news first?
Good news.
The good news. Todd, the Broncos had one player who did not practice yesterday and 3 who were limited. The Saints had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players that were limited in practice, meaning they'll probably be listed as questionable, and maybe 1 or 2 of those guys won't play. And the even better news for the Broncos is they had 5 guys that did not practice yesterday and 5 guys that are likely to not play against the Broncos. And we're talking about heavy hitters. We know Derek Carr is not going to play. Chris Olave, he's in the concussion protocol, just like Pat Surtain. Unfortunately, those guys aren't making it out. That's the bad news, is Pat's not going to play for the Broncos, but neither is Chris Olave. Their starting guard, Cesar Ruiz, is not going to play. They're starting opposite receiver of Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, who's also a big-time returner, very explosive, very fast. He is not going to play. And their linebacker, Pete Warner, also not going to play. So the Saints could be without they could be without their starting quarterback, their 2 starting receivers, their starting guard. They could also be without their starting center and their starting tight end. Talk about absolutely depleted.
It's like the bad news bears over there.
For real.
Yeah, that's a tough space to be in, and we got to take advantage of it. You talk about this being maybe a breakout game for Bo. I mean, the defense should definitely have these guys on lock. All those guys, a lot of those guys are missing from the offensive side of the ball. The defense should have a very good game. They've been playing well as a whole, but now you're talking about playing backups and a lot of backups. You should have a really good game as a defense, but you got to prepare like you're playing Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave. Don't prepare like you're playing, what's his name, what's the guy's name?
In
New Orleans. What's the receiver's name that connected with Spencer for a touchdown last week? Anyway, don't act like you're playing the backups, man. You got to be prepared, like you're playing the starters, because if you slack or you feel like, we're too good for this team, like, everybody gets paid in the NFL. Everybody makes money. Everybody's the best player from their college. Everybody's talented. Sometimes it's about opportunity, so don't sleep on anybody you go up against.
Oh, you're talking about household name Bub Means.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Yes, come on.
I mean, Bub? Talk about, I guess I hope Bub has a meaningful career, but yeah, you're talking about going from Chris Olave to Bub Means, and you're going from Derek Carr, who was on fire the first 2 weeks of the season, to now a rookie making his second start on a short week. Yesterday, Bo said it's a fun challenge to play on a short week. He's never played on this short of a week in his life before. And now Spencer Rattler has to do it on his second career start. So that is just incredibly difficult. But outside of Alvin Kamara, who scares you the most on this New Orleans Saints offense? Jordan Mims, Rashichi's not playing. Foster Moreau, and he might not even play. Juwan Johnson, Bub Means, Cedric Wilson Jr., and Mason Tipton. Those are all guys that played on their offense last week.
Yeah. But I guess Bub would scare you the most. It feels like they have the most chemistry, him and Spencer. So if he's going to get things going, it's probably through him. Everyone else, I think they're waiting to make a name for themselves. And I just hope it's not this Thursday.
Man, I hope it's not this Thursday as well. And the Broncos, like I mentioned, Todd, the bad news is they will be without Pat Surtain. How big of a blow is it this week to not have Pat?
I think it's always, a tough situation. I won't call it what you called it, but I think it's always a tough situation when you're out without your star players. Like, you never want to be without the guys who are game changers on your defense. Like, his ability to lock down corners allows Vance Joseph to call whatever he wants, whatever blitz he wants, however many guys he wants to put on a line of scrimmage, he does, because he has guys like Pat Surtain. Like, so it's going to change the dynamic when you don't have them. And even if it's a game where you're not playing the number 1 or number 2 wide receiver in the league, you still want to have Pat, on your side of the ball. Plus, I know for Pat, like, you look at these games like, hey, I might get 1 or 2 more. Like, there's a good opportunity for me to make some more plays, especially against a rookie quarterback and some young receivers. Like, I know he wishes he could be out there for this one.
That's a really good point, especially for his candidacy for potential defensive player of the year. Aiden Hutchinson goes out, so he was the favorite. Oh my gosh, did you see the? So you saw the video, you saw the play.
Yeah, I didn't watch. I'm not like this one of those serial watchers.
Yeah.
Like,
you're not messed up.
No. Did you guys have people like that in your high school? Like, something would happen, or they have something like, when the internet first came out, like they had a whole bunch of graphic stuff.
Yeah.
And people like come around the school show and they're like, look at this. I'm not that guy. Like, I don't need to see that,
There was a video of the TV copy, I believe, and I think it was real. You can hear Aiden Hutchinson's legs snap on the TV copy.
Dang.
And yeah, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And so best wishes for Aiden. But the reality is he's out now. He was by far the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. Man, you're right. These games are games where Pat can really add to his resume. Unfortunately, Broncos not going to have him, but you mentioned how Pat is that shutdown cornerback and how valuable that is to have. Todd, do the Broncos have 2 shutdown cornerbacks? Some more information is coming out just about how good Riley Moss is. And I've got 2 stats for you. And maybe it's not things that you trust the most coming from PFF and Next Gen Stats, but I found these very fascinating. According to PFF, Riley Moss is tied for the 4th best coverage grade among all cornerbacks in the NFL. It's like, okay, that's pretty good, but who really knows what coverage grade means when it's PFF doing that? Next Gen Stats has Riley Moss as allowing the 6th best passer rating when he's targeted, only allowing quarterbacks 71.7 passer rating when they target Riley Moss this season. So PFF and this stat from Next Gen Stats are saying he's a top 6 cornerback in the NFL.
So Next Gen Stats, that's from Amazon, right?
Yep.
I trust Amazon and Jeff Bezos a little bit more than I trust PFF, so we can take that one as credible. But no, I think when you see him make plays, like, yes, he gives up some passes, but every cornerback does. Like, it's so hard to be. I think it's impossible to think somebody's not going to give up a catch a game or 2 catches a game. But I think that if you watch his film versus other corners in the league, even top 5 corners, he's right on par with anybody you could put his film up against. Like, he is playing that well and really making a lot of plays on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why, man, this will be a good game for him to show Vance Joseph, okay, maybe I'm not Pat Surtain because that's a wild standard to put him up to, but treat me like Pat Surtain in this game, and I'll show you that I can live up to that in terms of being that number 1 corner, because Pat does open up a lot for Vance Joseph, especially in games where Vance wants to be very aggressive. Yeah. And I have to imagine this is one of those games, Todd, that Vance wants to go crazy and just send so many blitzes, but also different types of blitzes and exotic looks and pressures. And it really helps when you have 2 corners out there that can shut guys down. But isn't this a game where Vance, you think, could go crazy?
Oh, yeah, I feel like if it was a Sunday game, I think you would see 15 to 20 pressures that you've never seen from Vance before, because he had time to dial it all up. But now that's a Thursday night game. I think that maybe you go back through the first 6 games of the season, and because you guys have all your guys have ran these blitzes before, they're a little bit more comfortable with it, and you just pick like your most exotic blitzes from the last 6 games. I'm not saying it's their game plan, but this is what I would do.
Yeah.
And then you run them against Spencer Rattler, and it's not as much install because I've already installed it. We've already ran it in games. I can just pull it up on the tape if you've forgotten it from a week ago, and it makes it a lot easier to kind of make things tough on Spencer without having to like have our guys think a lot about the new play I just put in Wednesday afternoon for a Thursday night game.
That's such a good point because it's something Sean's talked about on the offensive side, how a key for Thursday night football, specifically on offense, specifically with a rookie quarterback that he has with Bo, is keeping the game plan simple and not installing too many new things. Is that the same on defense, or can you get a little more creative?
I think it's the same on defense. I think you pick your spots to be creative. Like offense, I know like you run your bread and butter, but they're gonna have like 3 or 4 shots. You may have one in the red zone that's new. You may have one in like the fringe, which is like the 35 to the 20, and then you may have a shot once you get across midfield that you know looks good against the defense that they usually run. Like you just pick and choose instead of having like, 15 brand new plays at different spots of the field. You just pick when you want to say, okay, I want to throw a dagger here to kind of put the game away, or I want to, really throw a great play here to try and stop them. So it's the same thing on defense.
And the Saints could be without 3 starting offensive linemen. So you add a rookie quarterback making his second career start without weapons outside of Kamara, and then 3 new offensive linemen to what you're saying about what Vance Joseph could do, on top of Zach Allen is playing some of the best football, not just of his career. He's playing the best football of his career, but Zach Allen is also playing some of the best football of any defensive lineman in the NFL right now, which he is just playing with his hair on fire. I believe he's up there with the most pressures in the entire NFL from defensive linemen. And then Jonathan Franklin Myers in the mix. Malcolm Roach is making his a return to New Orleans as well. And Nick Bonitto is on a 4-game sack streak right now. The last person to do that was Von Miller about 5 years ago. If he gets to a 5-game sack streak, he'll become the first player since Von Miller in 2018. And that's the last time Von Miller in a Broncos uniform looked like the Von Miller that we know when he had 15 sacks that season. So Nick Bonitto's playing really well too. Jonah Ellis is also playing well. I mean, this has an opportunity to be like a game that we've seen in the past, Todd. And I want you to guess what game I'm referring to. I'm going to throw some stats your way. And in the Toyota chat, I want you to guess what game I'm referring to, because there's a national analyst that says this game could be like a game that we've seen before with the Broncos involved. And before I throw those stats your way, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Westera Credit Union, where they were founded in 1934 right here in Colorado with 9 locations in the Denver metro area, and they're all about helping their members financially prosper. Education is their thing. They were started by a group of 8 school teachers, so helping others is in their DNA. And as a member, you'll see that come through in every interaction they have. It's all about the community with these guys. They just launched their 90th anniversary CD that offers 9% annual percentage yield. That's right, 9% on a CD of 5 months. You can start earning high interest on balances as low as $500 and a max of $3,000 are insured by the NCUA. This will only be offered for a limited time, so head to WesteraCU.com to learn more. Early withdrawal penalty fees apply. Fees could reduce earnings. Rates are accurate as of September 1st, 2024. New money and in-branch offer only. Limited time only. Subject to change without notice. Review membership account agreement. Disclosures and information guide for additional details. Membership eligibility required. Insured by the NCUA.
And shout out to UC Health and their Ready, Set, Go challenge. We all know that the goal of the challenge is to get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state in the U.S. We got a lot of activities to do outside, whether it's hiking, biking, going on trails. You may be able to hop in a kayak. You can go see Seven Falls. There's definitely a lot to do in Colorado, and you want to make sure you're taking advantage of it and being your healthiest self. And one way to really make sure that you're taking advantage of being your healthiest self is to make sure that you're getting 8 hours of sleep. 8 hours is the magic number. You don't want to sleep on sleep. Sleep is super important. There's a couple things that happen while you sleep. You have some neurological benefits. Your physical well-being is uplifted while you sleep. It's the main way to keep yourself healthy. So you want to make sure you get 8 hours of sleep. You got to make good sleep the priority. Remember to put your phone down when you go to bed. Don't let that blue light try to keep you up. You can try some, guided meditation, sleep apps, anything that's going to help you get in that prime zone. You can also pick up a book. I know whether you like to read books or you don't like to read books, read about 5 pages of a book, you'll start getting tired. So if you want to join the UC Health's Ready, Set, Go Challenge, click the link in the show notes or go to www.uchealth.org/Ready, Set, Go.
All right, Todd. There was a game the Broncos played in, say in the past 5 years or so, where one of the teams involved scored 3 points. The team that scored 3 points had 112 total yards in the game, including 12 total passing yards and 100 rushing yards, plus 3 turnovers.
Wow.
So as many turnovers as they did points, and they only had 12 passing yards in the game. Toyota Chat, you know which game I'm talking about, Todd?
I don't know.
Do you know which game I'm talking about? This was a game.
Was I in the game?
You were not in the game.
I was going to say good because even though you gave up 12 yards passing, 100 yards rushing, come on, boys.
No, you only had 12 yards.
Oh, we did?
This was the Broncos.
The Broncos had 12 yards rushing.
No, 12
yards passing, 100 yards rushing, and 3 turnovers?
And 3 points. Yep.
Was it the game where they had that where they didn't have any quarterbacks because of
That's exactly it. That's exactly it, Todd. It's the COVID game in 2020, and Sean Payton was involved in that game. He was the head coach of the Saints in that game where they started Taysom Hill, a quarterback. It was Taysom Hill against Kendall Hinton because the Broncos lost all of their quarterbacks, and I don't think this game is going to be that bad for the Saints, but there is a fantasy person. His name is Adam Chernoff, and he said the Saints are so depleted on offense and could be so depleted on offense even more if some of the questionable guys don't play, that he says this reminds him of that game just flipped, where the Saints are the ones that have absolutely nothing on offense, and especially against this Vance Joseph defense. That's, by all accounts, a top 5 defense in every single way. Even after this tough first half this past week, they're still a top 4 in terms of yards per game given up, top 4 in terms of points per game given up. And he thinks it could be maybe not this bad, but this bad. You know what the game ended up being? The final score? Broncos had 3 points. You know how much the Saints had?
I don't remember.
Saints did not have a good offense in that game. But because the Broncos' offense was that bad and gave the ball up 3 times, they scored 31 points.
Wow.
So it's a 31-3 game. In this game this week, I wouldn't be shocked to see it be something like that. Now, it's crazy to say the Broncos are going to score 31 points. Broncos scored 34 points just a couple of weeks ago, though. 2 weeks ago against the Raiders, they dropped 34. Now, 7 of them came from a Pat Surtain pick 6. Wouldn't be shocked if the defense scores in this game. Spencer Rattler is going to turn the ball over. Can the defense capitalize on it? Are the turnovers happening on the Saints' territory where the Broncos only have to go 20 yards to get a touchdown? Obviously, against Seattle, we saw the Broncos defense do that, and the offense wasn't able to capitalize. But Todd, just as bad as this Saints offense can be, should be, I think will be against this Broncos defense, the Saints defense is also this bad. They gave up 51 points this past week while picking Baker Mayfield off 3 times. I don't know if that's ever happened in a game where a quarterback throws 3 picks and they still score 50 or more points.
No, I don't know how that happened. It just felt like the floodgates were open. Like whatever the Bucs wanted to do, they could do. I know Baker didn't want to throw those interceptions, but every other pass, it felt like it was connecting. All their runs were hitting. Their gap schemes were working out perfectly. Linebackers were missing tackles. It just felt like it was like the culmination of everything that the Saints didn't want to happen was happening. So I think that the Broncos have a lot of opportunities there to make plays against this defense. They just have to take advantage of it. And with the way that our offensive line played last week, I know we don't have 2 starters on offensive line, and Cam Jordan is still a beast. I know he has 0 sacks this year, but he is still a formidable defensive end in this league. So it's important for us to come ready to play too. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. I think it will be a little bit more of a grind game than what most people think. But hopefully it's definitely not as bad as that COVID game, because that would be horrible. And didn't we release Kendall Hinton later that season?
No, they just made him a wide receiver. So from a quarterback perspective,
no, I
they
know.
released him.
Yes, I thought they released him that year. I was about to say.
I think they kept him on the practice squad, in fact, the following year as well.
Okay.
And he became, obviously, a fan favorite there. They put, I think, his jersey in the Hall of Fame because it was just such a unique thing. So some Broncos fans still call him Hall of Famer Kendall Hinton because there's something of his in the Hall of Fame. And Todd, you mentioned how they could run the ball. The Bucs could run the ball against the Saints last week. They could pass the ball against the Saints last week. The Saints gave up 594 yards of offense to the Bucs last week, including over 300 passing yards to Baker Mayfield. And even worse, they almost had 300 rushing yards against them. This is a game where, Todd, you should be able to do whatever you want. Now, to the extent of, Baker Mayfield going out there and just balling out, probably not, because Bo Nix isn't Baker Mayfield right now. But the Broncos offense should not struggle this game. And when I mean struggle, they should not have 0 points in the first half. They should not be finishing. This should not be a 13-10 win where you're really struggling to get 13 points, or else we talked about it's not time to press a panic button. It might be if you're not able to do it against this Saints team in the condition that they're in right now. 277 rushing yards is what they gave up against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers don't run the ball. The Buccaneers aren't a good running football team. We saw that just a couple of weeks ago. They don't try to run the ball often, and they don't run the ball when they try. So the Broncos, they're bottom 10 run offense right now. This is a game where they get back up to average, where they are able to run the rock, and I think that's going to be a big priority for Sean Payton here. They should be able to do, honestly, whatever they want. Now, to the extent of 600 yards, no, but they're giving up 400 yards per game. It's the worst in the NFL. Give me over 300 yards from the Broncos, and that will translate to 20 or more points. I think you and Baldy set the number yesterday at 24-ish. Is that what you want to see the Broncos offense get to?
That's what I'd like to, yeah. That's what I would like to.
How much of a stretch is it?
It shouldn't be a stretch, but I mean, I can't overlook this team, man. I just went back and looked at our schedule from last year. We gave up 70 points to the Dolphins. Yeah. The very next game we win, and I don't think we give up more than 22 points for the next 8 games.
Wow.
So, not saying that we can't score 51 against them, or another team couldn't have scored 70 on us like Miami did. I just think you start to hunker down, and it's either we're going to find a way to flip this thing around, or it just keeps going from bad to worse. And I'm not sure which Saints team we're going to get yet. So I just want us to be prepared. 24, I think, is a solid number, and I think it's a good number, because I think thinking that we're going to be able to go score 30, 35 points. It's not unreasonable, but I just don't know how realistic that is.
Do you think there's any truth in this being a game that Sean Payton has thought about for months now and has game planned a little extra special for, because it's his return and he wants to show New Orleans no, I still got it, and it's on prime time? Is there anything to that?
Yeah, I think there's something definitely to that. I mean, Mickey Loomis is still there. A lot of people that he's worked with is still there. His ODC is now the head coach. The DC knows Sean just like he knows, just like Sean knows the DC. They both have little plays built in for one another. So I think it's definitely an important game for Sean. I think it's one that he wants to win. Do I think that he's been game planning for the last month? I don't know. Okay. I think there's other games he probably should have been focused on. But I do think that he'll be game planning hard, or has been game planning hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep. You know what's crazy about this game? I don't know if I said this on the show yesterday or right after when we were talking about this. The head coach of both teams has coached for the other team, and 3 of the 4 coordinators in this game have coached for the other team. Now, I'll leave special teams out because I I don't think they're included, but offensive coordinator for both teams has coached for the other team. Clint Kubiak was a Broncos quarterback coach just 2 years ago. And, of course, Joe Lombardi was the Saints offensive coordinator for over a decade there. The Broncos defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, is the only coach, top-level coach in this game that did not coach for the other team. He'd never coached for the Saints. But on the other side, Joe Woods was the Broncos defensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator here with Vance Joseph here. Now, there's not a lot of carryover. It's just more of an interesting storyline. Obviously, Sean Payton, coach of the Saints for 15 years. But then Dennis Allen, the coach of the Saints right now, coached under Sean Payton for the Saints and was the Broncos coach here, their defensive coordinator over a decade ago. So a lot of carryover in this game.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's like the New Orleans Broncos and the Denver Saints meet up on Thursday Night Football. So it's funny when you have games like this because the coaching staffs know so much about like game plan and what other coaches like want to do, how they want to take advantage of some of your weaknesses. So it's really a chess match because when I know you so well, I know what your tendencies are, and now you have to start thinking back to what you told that guy 3 years ago about how you like the game plan, and now you're gonna like deviate from that and bring something new to the game. So it's really a chess match when coaches that have played together or coached together go up against one another.
Do you know how coaches do that? Do they hold some things back from players that they're coaching just in case they move on, or coaches that they're coaching with and maybe don't say everything out loud? Or do they just have to know what they've told people and then adjust on when they play those people?
Yeah, I think coaches keep like a couple like things in their back pocket.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you 95% of my game, like why I do what I do.
Yeah.
But like if I ever play you in the future, I gotta have 5% that just, oh dang, I didn't think he even did that.
Yeah.
So I think they keep something in their back pocket.
I think about that often, especially with the quarterback. Like if there's one thing you absolutely hate playing against on a defense or something, or it's a look you don't like, and it's not something that's super obvious on film. But, man, when you see that safety come up right before the snap, it's just something small like that. Maybe you don't say that out loud. And I don't know if that's just too basic, like if you kind of have to tell your coach everything that you're feeling, or if there would be something. So that makes sense. About 5% you can hold back.
Yeah, about 5%, nothing more. Because you do want to be honest with your coworkers. You don't want to, be lying all the time and not remember where the story ended and then be making stuff up the next time you guys talk. So, there got to be a little bit of like open door policy there.
What's the 5% you're holding back from me?
If I tell you, I got to kill you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so Todd, tell me what the key is to this game and if the Broncos will pull off the win. And I want to do that after I give a shout out to our friends over at Empire today, where we have Empire floors right now, and you can get $350 off your purchase over at Empire today if you use the code DNVR. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details to schedule a free in-home estimate today, and all listeners can receive $350 off when they do. And there's a reason that you go to Empire's, because they've got the best service, the best quality. They even have a virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how the new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how your new floors will look in your room and home. So you can shop at other places, but you're not going to get the same service or the same quality over at Empire like they have. They've got the best service, so check them out over at empiretoday.com/DNVR and use that code DNVR.
And shout out to Z-Biotics. Right now you can get 15% off of your first order if you go to Z-Biotics and use code DNVR Broncos. And if you're getting ready for this Thursday night game and you want to tailgate a little bit, and you're a little bit older like my age, in your 30s, and you don't bounce back the same way you used to the next day after drinking, you got to check out Z-Biotics, because Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking, and this is how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. And in this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. Just remember to make ZBiotic your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. So you can go to zbiotics.com/DNVR Broncos to learn more and get 15% off your first order. Remember to use the code DNVR Broncos.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. If you're getting in on action this weekend or tomorrow with the Broncos game, make sure to use the code DNVR365 over at Bet365. All right, Todd, what is the key for the Broncos to win this game?
Oh, man, there's so many different things you could talk about as far as what the Broncos need to do to be successful in this game. But I'm going to put the pressure on the defense. We've been doing it all year, and I think I'm just going to leave it there. I mean, I could say a laundry list of what Bo needs to do and what the running backs need to do and how, the O-line needs to step up. But first and foremost, I think the Broncos defense has to make Spencer Rattler look like he started his second game of his NFL career. They have to make him look like a rookie. They have to make it very confusing for him. They have to go out there and stop the run. I think the Broncos defense need to play like, an elite defense this week, a top 5 defense, which they are. They really have to make this game tough on Spencer Rattler. And I think if they can do that, everything else will work itself out.
I love that, Todd. And that's probably the key for this game. Don't let Spencer Rattler look like the potential he has. And he only shows that 5% of the time. So It should be easy for this defense to do that. But that's going to be the key, I think. I'll go with something that scares me a little more. Don't get down big early. We've seen the Broncos do it a couple of games. They've gone 3 games without scoring in the first half. I don't think that's going to happen, but you can't let that happen in this game. Sean actually pointed it out earlier this week. He said teams that get down at halftime on Thursday night games have a harder time making a comeback statistically than teams that get down at halftime in the first half of Sunday games. So it's going to be extra important to get off to just a fine start.
Yeah.
Be tied, be down 3 at half, just not down big at halftime. And I think the Broncos will end up being fine in this game. Todd, in the past 4 games, the Saints have scored 55 total points. In the first 2 games of their season, they scored 47 and 44. They've scored 55 total points in the past 4 games, which is 13 points per game. Now, they've been going up against teams like the Eagles, the Falcons, the Chiefs, the Bucks. Good teams. Mm-hmm. Maybe some great defenses in there, but not all great defenses by any means. And they've scored 13 points per game in those games. The Broncos defense, what do we expect for the Saints to score in this game?
I think 13 is a good number. 13's a realistic number. You can say 0. It's always tough to do a shutout. Things happen. And even when you have a shutout going and you get to the fourth quarter, now we're playing like prevent defense. The team usually scores, so it's tough to really pitch a shutout. So I say 13 points is realistically, and that would still keep them on par with being, one of the top 2 teams in the league as far as scoring defense.
So are you going with that as part of your score?
Yeah, let's just do 13.
Are the Broncos going to win, Todd?
Yes, the Broncos are going to win on Thursday night.
Let's Bo, baby.
If they don't, I'll eat my hat. No, I'm just playing.
Oh, okay. Let's clip that. Don't clip the just playing part.
I'm just playing. Wasn't there a guy that said that on Twitter about what school was he talking about?
Oh, goodness. He said more than just eating his hat.
Yeah.
It was
Florida. That was another guy.
That was another guy. There was a hat guy?
Yeah, there was a hat guy.
Okay.
Too. Yeah.
And did his team lose?
Yeah, I think they lost.
Because, of course, there's the Florida State guy who said he would eat fresh dog poop if Florida State lost to Boston College.
Yep.
And then Boston College rolled up, and then he deleted all his social media.
Everything. Like, I'm not that confident. Like, I'm not going to say that, but I think we'll win.
By 1 point? Or how much are the Broncos scoring?
No, we'll win by 14. So let's say 13-27.
Wow. Okay, so we're feeling great going in to this Broncos bye week or semi-bye week. Henry has a similar score to you. He's going 23-16 Broncos. Ryan's going 17-13 Broncos. And Todd, I like that number that you picked out for the Broncos. 13 points is what the Broncos are going to hold the Saints to. And honestly, kind of have a hard time seeing the Saints getting to 13 points. But like you said, it's really hard to predict a shutout, really hard to predict a team to score in the NFL less than 10 points in a game. So I'll go 13 for this, and I'll go the Broncos score 23 points. You and I both got double-digit wins. And I'll tell you what. He went
27-13.
Got the 14-point win. So, Todd, you're going to be here doing the pre- and post-game show with an awesome crew. Of course, the crew. Then you have a little special guest, which we'll tease at the end of the show. I'm going to be going down to New Orleans for this game to be there. And I'll tell you what, if the Broncos don't win this game, I won't sleep in my hotel room after the game. How about that?
You're a good man. That means you have a lot of faith in the Broncos.
A lot of faith in the Broncos. I'll just go to the airport or something. Won't even sleep. That's how confident I am in this Broncos team to get the dub. I'm risking a big night's sleep on the Broncos win. They are going to win this game. And Todd, the over-under for this game is 37 points. I don't remember the last time the over-under for the Broncos has been above 40 this season. Like, it's been in the 30s for a month straight. I mean, I actually don't know if the over-under for the Broncos has been in the 40s this entire season, which is just wild. And we'll give it to the defense's credit. We'll say it's all because of the Broncos' defense. People are just scared to bet against them, right?
Well, yeah, you can say that. People. I don't think anybody's scared of our offense right now, so let's put it on the defense.
And let's make people scared of the offense after this week. So we're all going with Broncos wins for this week. Let's jump to the rest of the AFC here, Todd. And we got a full slate of AFC West games. The Raiders, the Devontae Adams-less Raiders, who now have Tom Brady as an owner, going up against the Rams in Los Angeles. Who are you going with? It's a pretty terrible game.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm going with the Rams. Rams are still trying to figure everything out, but I think they're better than the Raiders. And Tom's been there for a couple of days. I don't think he's going to do enough to help them get over the hump.
Let's hope. What do you think of Tom being a minority owner of the Raiders, plus he's a commentator for NFL games?
Yeah, it feels like a conflict of interest, right?
Yeah.
You can't really, maybe you just can't commentate on Raiders games.
For sure.
But then you have a lot of insider information. Like you're going to talking to teams, you're talking to GMs, you're talking to
so that's
owners,
one thing he can't do anymore. He can't go inside a building and have any of those meetings. And I have to imagine commentators bring up those meetings and insight they get from him all the time.
For sure.
So won't that make him worse at his job that he's getting paid $37 million a year for?
Yeah, he won't be able to cheat as easily. You'll have to find other ways to cheat.
Yeah, it's very. I wonder if at some point he's just going to drop this Fox gig, because there was also a report that said Tom's going to be very involved in football decisions for the Raiders. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is like almost to the extent of like George Payton going out and being a commentator for CBS and calling, or I guess for Fox and calling a bunch of NFC games. It doesn't feel right.
No. Feels a little slimy.
Yeah, really does.
Yeah.
Really does. I guess that's a Raider way, though, so it makes sense. You're going Rams. I'm going Rams. Henry's going Rams as well. And Ryan is actually going Raiders. So the three of us are on the same page going Rams. Ryan is going Raiders. Chargers at Cardinals. Todd, we got a double Monday night header this coming Monday night. And one of those games is the Chargers going into Arizona to play the Cardinals. Who you got?
The Cardinals are going to play a good defense when they go and place the Chargers. So I'm interested to see what the Chargers do the rest of the year because they had a big run-pass imbalance, I felt like, with Justin Herbert as your quarterback. And then they come and play us, and the first 9 out of 10 plays were all passes. So maybe that bye week helped them kind of get their head on straight and said, hey, we actually do need Justin Herbert to steer this ship if we're going to be successful. So we'll see how they do, but I'm going to pick the Chargers for right now.
Yeah, I'm with you, Todd. I got to pick the Chargers as well. I don't think this loss that the Broncos just had to the Chargers is nearly as bad as Broncos Country thinks. Unfortunately, I think Jim Harbaugh is the truth, and I think he's got that team playing really well. One of the things that is easy to overlook about this Chargers team is their defense is elite this season, at least right now. The first 6 weeks, they've been elite, and they looked elite against the Broncos for the most part until that fourth quarter when they were playing more garbage time. Unfortunately, I think the Chargers are also going to make the playoffs, along with the Broncos, along with the Chiefs. I think the Chargers are a good team, not a great team, but it also makes this week's loss that the Broncos just had, I don't think it's as bad of a loss as people think. So I think the Chargers will beat the Cardinals this week, and I think we're gonna have 3 AFC West teams in the playoffs. But Henry and Ryan are going with the Cardinals. I hope Henry and Ryan are right about that, because the Broncos win and the Chargers lose. Broncos will be, I think, tied for the top or for a wild card spot and the second in the division. All right, Todd, the game of the week and probably in the entire NFL is the Chiefs going into San Francisco to play the 49ers, a Super Bowl rematch of what, 2 of the past 3 years, I think?
Yeah. I don't know, in my opinion, if the 49ers are as good this year as they have been in the past. It feels like they've been in some tight games and, had a good play here or there, but they haven't really been consistent like we've seen them be the last couple years. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Let's see if the Chiefs can get it done and beat the 49ers again.
Yeah, and let's hope that's not the case. But the 49ers are favored in this game. I know they're at home, crazy. But what? How? Why? The 49ers are 3-3. The Chiefs are 5-0 right now, or 4-0 because they had a bye. I hate this, but man, I don't get it. So I hope the 49ers win this game. I hope that Vegas is seeing something that I'm not seeing in this game. But I'm going Chiefs as well. Good news is Henry and Ryan are going 49ers. Todd, you and I are synced up in every single one of our picks, and we've got Henry and Ryan going the other way from us. I hope those guys are right, because it would mean that the Broncos are getting closer in the AFC West, especially the top of the AFC West, in that second place in the AFC West. But so really good slate of games actually this week, and it all starts on Thursday night with the Broncos taking on the Saints. And we got 2 super chats to get to really quick. First one coming in from Chandler Pruitt, who says, I saw a tweet suggesting the Bermuda Triangle as the new nickname for our cornerbacks, which is sick. PS2, Moss, and J-Mac are all islands, and everyone between them gets lost.
It's not bad. I think that's actually a well thought out kind of nickname.
It's very well thought out. I agree, Todd. And final one coming in from TB007 says, these personnel changes are killing the Broncos offense. What do you think?
I don't know if it's the personnel changes. We just need a little bit more flavor in our scheme, and I think we'll be all right. I mean, the personnel is the personnel, and if you put up the right scheme, we can make it work.
I think the personnel changes that we saw are going to be what stays. I think we're going to see a lot of Devon Vele, a lot of Troy Franklin. Those are kind of be the guys that step up and be the Broncos' second and third receivers outside of Cortland Sutton. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a really fun game, and I have a lot of confidence in this game. Make sure that you're tuning in to the pregame show and the post-game show where, Todd, you've got the 3 of you guys, plus you're adding a special guest.
Yeah, my boy TJ Ward will come on the post-game show with us, so he'll hang out, get to talk about the game with us, and it'll be a good time.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And follow me on social media if you want to see my trip down to New Orleans, and if the Broncos lose, I'll be sleeping in a car or a hotel or an airport. Won't be sleeping in a hotel. So thank you all so much for tuning in. You're here. Thank you for everything this week. Todd, Thank you for everything this week. We'll be back tomorrow, not at 10 a.m., but at 5:45 over on YouTube. So if you typically listen to the podcast version, make sure you're over on YouTube. DNVR Sports. Hit us with a thumbs up. Let's see how many passing yards Bo Nix is going to have. Whatever that thumbs up gets to is what he'll be at. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow for game day.
We all silly like the mayor.